What's up, everybody? All right, so today I'm going to go into leveraging AI for sales. I'm going to go through our approach and how we look at where to implement AI, what hasn't worked for us, what is working for us, and where we see future opportunities. Last year, we did 30 million in cash collected with these tools implemented, and this channel is just me sharing what we've tried, what hasn't worked, what has worked, and what we're doing to scale to 100 million a year. All right, so to start, the approach. So first things first, we look at it as like a waterfall effect, right? So where there is places that humans can do it on our team and get a better efficiency in relation to cost, we would rather do that, right? So if there are places, and I'll go into kind of examples of what hasn't worked, but we want to look at ways that we can either use AI to make the team more efficient or replace out pieces. But if there is a piece that is better suited and gets the same or better result in terms of return on cash, then we are going to use AI. And if not, we're going to use human. Okay. So for examples of that, what hasn't worked? So opt no app email. So this is just basically for us, our funnel is opt-in. So first name, email, application, book a phone call, get on the phone, purchase. All right. So that opt no app, all we have is their name and email. We don't collect their phone number. So with that, we can only remarket to them via email. So what we did with this was basically create kind of crafted, but there's not too much customization you can do because you only know their name and email. So you can do AI data enrichment. You can try and gather info on them. You can pull social profiles. You can do like a lot of stuff. We felt that was too invasive, maybe is the right word. So all we were doing was just trying to get a prompted email response, and we got it up a little bit where we're getting like an okay response early in the sequence, and then just having AI take over the conversation, and it just was not effective. Like it was the unit count was so low in terms of just like conversations, let alone apps, then bookings, then call like further down the funnel. So we just turned this off just because it was kind of confusing and it was add an extra layer. I've heard people have this work. So all of these are to say what hasn't worked for us in future opportunities. Like people are crushing this. So this whole channel is me just sharing what we did, what we're doing, not about what is the right necessary way. It's just me sharing kind of our view on it and where we're at. So I know people crush with this in email and do it a lot with setters for sure. Like, oh, reply to this if you want this, and then just have setters manage the inbox. You could do the same thing with AI, like theoretically. Booking confirmation voice. This was like way too long of us trying to do it. To my understanding, nobody out there has this handled to a way that it can handle it properly, right? Like they have, I'm forgetting the name of the software, but there's a really, really good one that got backed by Y Combinator that we were plugged into, and it's crushing for reservations, for delivery orders, for like all those kind of things, barber appointments, like in that. But for us and how our current tech stack sits and how it sounds, it has all this super cool stuff that basically would make it so like it already knows what to say a portion, so it can start responding while the API calls are happening. So there's no like latency between when you say something and then you have to wait however long for AI to do its thing and then come back and then do the voice and then repeat it. So there's like, that's a lot of the time why there's the delay. So this has like super cool functions and modules that would break out, and based on this response, it would route them. It could pre-frame and say, okay, that's interesting. So based on what you said, and then in the background be doing the API call, so it can fill in then the AI section of the message. So super cool. But for us, it just didn't dynamically work. So we tried to use it for booking confirmation. So call them within 3 minutes of them booking a call. Hey, is this still, like, just confirm you do know it's a Zoom call. You do know that it's this time zone that you selected. Go here to get your homework. Like if they had any bit of, like just the pronunciation was still off. Like even if you hard coded stuff, names were way off, even on simple names. And we tried pretty hard to get this to work, like our team did, and it just wasn't doing it. And then Calendly's API is all crazy. So to be able to like reschedule someone or cancel their time or like do any of that stuff, it was more or less like just doing that and then needed to notify a Slack channel. And we had multiple people like call out like, oh, is this AI? And that's just not what we're looking for. So we replaced this part with a call confirmation team that was 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're a call center and they're out of Lebanon, I believe. And they sound better. They don't sound like perfect, but they sound better. And the stats go to show like anybody who confirms with them is like a 70% show rate. So whatever is, it still works. Like it just goes to show it could probably be like 80 or higher. So we have 65% of those get claimed. And then of those that get claimed, 70% of those show up versus like 40 something. And again, I said in other videos, like current state is this entire thing is down. So I'm believing it's a marketing thing and like an overall framing, but that's where we're currently at. So booking confirmation SMS, this one, I do believe this would still work. So how we were doing it was they were texting. So the call confirmation team that's actual live agents is calling and texting. Then the next piece is a SMS that was going to come from the sales rep. But instead, we were like, let's use AI and just nurture them. Say, hey, saw your application based on the information. I think this resource would be interesting to you. Let me know when you check it out. And they would have dialogue back and forth, all right, with the AI bot that is basically nurturing them within that 48-hour window before they get on the phone. Why this was, I think, just kind of confusing was we were trying to like parlay like 3-4 things, because you have an SMS potentially is coming from triage if they can't, or call confirmation team and voicemail, whatever, which is one phone number. Then you have AI texting, which is one phone number. Then you have the sales rep texting. And then a lot of time you'll use like Calendly or a third party that also has texting. So you're texting from 4 different lines. Like, it's just confusing. So we pulled it out and we didn't see any direct change. We're also trying to reference the text, be like, oh, hey, I saw you had a conversation with Mandy, or like I got caught up from Mandy on the conversation. And like, if the person didn't respond, you needed like routing. It just got too messy for what didn't need to be. This entire portion of the company right now is like a major pain point. So I'm looking at all kinds of things. There's a lot of guys who have really good videos about this, but are basically, we need to solve for getting higher show rates and getting more live calls, because that is a crux for us right now that I'm working on. But so these are the 3 things just off the top that I had that we used for sales within AI that did not work for us at the time. Not to say voice isn't there yet, or when it is, like, of course we'll jump. This just doesn't really like make sense, but I'll show you where we do use it. So where we are using it is this exact same AI system, but for app no books. So, right, someone opts in, they apply, but then they fall off before they book. So about 50%, call it, of the people that apply do not book. And that is, there's a lot of ways around this. You can combine them so it's 100%, but then is your overall number less likely? All kinds of things. So for us, app not booked, we feed in that information from their application, because now we have context, right? So when we try to do it on the opt-in, there's nothing contextual to talk to them about. That's about them, to point them back into the sequence through email. But in this, in SMS, we do, because we know they've tried this, they've tried Jenny Craig keto. This is their goal. Here's their timeline. Here's the, financial qualifiers, all that stuff. So we can have a conversation that's educated. So the first one sends in, it's basically like, oh, I saw this information. I thought this would be interesting for you. Sends that out to them, and then just starts dialogue, and then pushes them to a call to action, which is just book a call, which is just like companyname.com/call. And that right now, just that sequence alone is like 12 to 14%, depending, of our overall bookings, which is crazy. So like, of 1,000 bookings in a week, 140 of them come from having a conversation in the app no book sequence, which is great. So we use it there. AI infused confirmations. This, instead of using this portion up here for the booking confirmation, we essentially infused the SMS from the sales rep. So instead of having the sales rep get a booking and have to like reach out, and if they're on calls and they're busy, we dynamically send it 30 minutes after. And again, not to say this is perfect, because like our show rates aren't good right now. I don't think it's because of this, but like, this is what we're actively doing. It'll send them, be like, hey, I saw your application, or hey, so-and-so, this is blank, your sales rep from blank company. I will look at your application, and I think this would be really valuable to you. And then it looks up a database that we have set of all of the stuff on site. So like all the different resources, the different podcasts, the different video reviews, all of that. And then we'll send that to them dynamically and be like, did you check it out? And then it responds back to the sales rep. So no actual AI conversation or communication, but just infused to dynamically find information and write messaging for that initial message, right? So this one's good. We do get a ton of responses on this. And the other thing with these is we've been using Alloware as our tech stack for that, and which is green bubbles and like normal. But we just rolled out Send Blue, Blue Send, whatever theirs is, and we have like, before we had like a 24% response rate, and now we have like a 50 something response rate. So whatever they're doing works. Now we have to see how it backs out and over time, but like, we just changed the conduit, exact same messaging, exact same AI system. And then we have a senior tech lead on the team who is just like a rock star. So he's the one who actually built these. We've used tools in the past like Max and other ones. I don't want to name direct names, but like, they work too. This was just cheaper and more customizable for us in-house after we got to a certain point. So sales call review. This one's super good. So ZRA is what we use instead of Gong. So this basically, you can have like a checklist that goes through your entire sales call. So it's connected to Zoom. So Z is a Zoom Revenue Accelerator, I believe. And it's like an add-on, not that expensive in comparison to Gong. And what you can do is, one, it just does all the normal stuff you're seeing. So like keywords and like how often things are brought up and phrasing and talk time percentages. It does all that on top of the recording, so you can look at the recording and see all the notes. And then the other really cool part that I like the best, that we use is like a scorecard. So you can have a scorecard that's like, did they set the tone? Did they show authority in the beginning? Did they do XYZ objection handling? Or like, did objections come up? Did they go through multiple pricing options or just one? Did they like ask all these questions? And it will answer yes, no. It can do it on scales. It can give you like free forms. It can do all this crazy stuff. So it does all of those. And the best part is when it says like, did they make themselves like authority in the beginning? It'll say yes or no. But under it, it'll give a text box and be like, this is why they said this and this and this. And like this showed direct authority or expertise in the space. And that's why I said yes, which is super cool because not just like autofill. I like the context behind it. Very helpful. So our sales team uses this and our setters aren't using this now. We just started setters this week. But it's been super, super helpful to be able to see and then like bucket things. Closer script is just kind of a fun one. So we went through and using that tool, well, kind of a separate tool, but because we have all that stuff built in the AI section for the messaging, we basically took all of the closed deals of the last, 50 deals or 100 deals. I don't remember the number. And I didn't do this. Our senior tech lead and our sales manager did this together and reported back. But so they basically took all of those. They took the transcripts from all the Zooms. They fed them in and they were like, find commonalities and trends in this on the sales side. What were the commonalities? And then they built like a framework portion to the script. So our sales manager doesn't fully believe in, he always says like, no scripts in 2025, but it found like a ton of commonality and ways that we could leverage and pieces. We're like, oh, that's interesting. Like all of the closed calls said this or went into this range, or, they only had X amount of objections. So clearly they were handled before. If we could lean into that for more leads. So stuff like that. I'm sure there's other ones, but I'm kind of just forgetting right now, but future opportunities. So add comments in inbox. We tried this for a minute. So I guess we did try this is what hasn't worked. We tried this and we didn't like how the responses were. And it was also like auto responding to everyone and us being like female only. There's a lot of men that are just straight up creepy and just like messaging stuff. And it was weird because we're doing it from an expert, from the co-founder of the company. And it was just like, it was weird. So we turned it off. And right now we have our CS team in there, but this is a super good one that I know a lot of people do this. And then same thing with the inbox, like having the auto respond on the inbox doing this. We don't use it for CS either. I know, sorry, I'll stay in sales. This one's only sales because we have a bunch of other stuff that we do that's AI, but I'm trying to keep this one just sales. So the low ticket buyer no book, this is brand new to us. So we're selling like 30 to 40 of these a day right now testing. We just launched a bunch of split tests and we have the OTO on the back end to book a call. So 20 you'll buy a day. Now, how many directly book? Let's call it 10. So like 50% of them are auto booking. And that is direct on that page. It's like, hey, schedule an implementation call. They end up talking to a setter. It's also pushed them via text and email on post-purchase. And then inside the product after consumption, it actually goes direct to a closer in current state. But that 50%, like what happens to the other 50? So another idea is having text threads that are prompting responses instead of just like a blast to them. It's like, hey, book your call here. It can ask them questions and then be AI and then have a different call to action, different prompting to lead them to go to here to book your call. That's round robin. So this would be a nice little lift, but we just launched this. So we're trying to get like baseline numbers before we do any optimization. Dynamic calendar reader. So this is kind of twofold. So one, the one I built or had built is pretty nice and does that for like spots and all that. That's one piece. But what I really mean by this specific is we used to use an SMS AI that would dynamically read the availabilities on your sales team's calendar. So instead of like we use Calendly, round robin, so it would actually look direct to Google Calendar. And instead of through Calendly, because Calendly is all messy with their API. So it would be like, hey, are you available tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Eastern? And they're like, yeah. And it's like, okay, cool. I'll book you in. And it generates a booking for them direct through Google Calendar. And this is when we used it. So maybe they have like the booking widgets connected now and they use certain ones. But it was a lot of zaps and back and forth. But it worked like crazy. So we would likely build this in-house. These guys are awesome, like super, super nice guys and like super cool that they showed us this. And we used it for a while for when we had like 2 setters a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. But a dynamic calendar reader would be insane for us because it would be able to take all the setter calendars, look at the round robin and be like, hey, are you free at this time? Hey, are you free at this time? With everyone at messages, and then auto book them in for 15-minute slots that then get set. And like last time we did this, we were booking like 10 hours of 15-minute calls, like 2 or 3 days in advance. Like it just wouldn't stop. And so we would likely be able to do that ourselves now. So being able to build this into this and others, where instead of it just pushing to book, like pushing them to a link to book on their own, instead we could dynamically do that. And that would be AI messaging. And then not really AI, but just kind of like the tech side of finding that. The AI portion is more so in the messaging. No shows and cancels, same thing here, same messaging thread. Just doing it for no shows and cancels, trying to win them back, because that's a huge piece for us. If 60% of your calls show, which 60% of our calls do not show right now, but 40% of them, where do they go? And they could get in the same messaging ring. And then in Slack automations, and then I'll stop talking, or actually I'm going to give a quick little business update. But in Slack automations is essentially like, I've seen people have it. So like when a deal comes in, it'll like push over to AI and come back with summaries about the person, their journey so far. They've reviewed this content based on page views. After the sales call is done, it'll push in like a review from a sales manager, like based on the transcript. Here's what you could have done better. Here's how I would follow up, pre-written follow-ups. Like we don't use any of that. So we're trying to just optimize, like I said, waterfall wise, like find the inefficiencies. And this is just sales. We have this in like coaching, and we have this in marketing, and we have this in content. Like we have this in a bunch of places at some level, but there's just tons of opportunity, and it's only getting better. So yeah, that's kind of the general gist of where we use AI in our sales. And then yeah, just a quick business update. So setters are live, low tickets live, closers are trying to close. We're trying to make it work, and marketing is trying to fill and change how they're doing optimizations around the ads, because we think that may be a main reason for the show rates being where they are. So there's just like a lot of things in the fire. Had Q2 on Tuesday. This is March of 2025. Had Q2 and crushed it. All the new teams on there. So super exciting things ahead. Super, super exciting. A lot of really good people on the team who have done these things before, which is cool because we've never been in a position where that's the place. So I'm excited to see. Like I said, we're closing whatever, or we're selling 30 to 40 low ticket right now, testing and trying to figure out the back end and how many book in with setters, and then how many book in from setters to closers, and then how many back out. But we already had our first setter close. I think two, actually, one or two already in like the first 2 or 3 days. So yeah, it's exciting for us, and I will update you more as we go. As always, Instagram for communication, DM on there, and then comments below here. Any questions, where you think, or tell me where I'm wrong or missing something or something. These are no ego. This is just me trying to share what's working for us. So anything that you guys want to know, I am happy to share.